In today's video, I am going to share with you how to use several AI tools to create a movie just like this. Long after the conquest of the Kagbanya warrior Ndewura Jakba, one of his sons, who he left behind to take care of the lands he conquered, was constantly being challenged by the growing power of a neighboring king. The king had become so powerful and had even begun conquering other neighboring tribes. The leader of the Kagbanya Empire therefore decided to wage war against them. But just like his father, Ndewura Jakba, he consults his spiritualist, who is a Malam, before he takes every major move. Today, he is on his way to seek counsel from the Malam who lives at the top of a mountain.
Inyi delile monaka barfanfa. Nafa kan yo kananatu fabanya nasara
makramo manana mintongra jande nginima kaskama nakala miura
ele nawole makwakana aposo puene futun kumpofu dunganusu adega fakanya bumo la kalpoin la kala mona keventan sna futun kumpo bumoso
mukosoko kosko fenomene.
He was a little confused and not too sure about the approach to use to attain anything tangible from the enemy leader. But he knew any strategy he will come up with had to be a peaceful one. Dingoro went home and thought for days. After several days of thinking, he finally found a solution. He immediately assembled his warriors and told them about his plan.
Antra manyananfe nankanga manyafana mpin kana nambenton wura mpo ambobodo naso kabalo kusufin bibina kamala naso.
He immediately called Bimonka, one of the most beautiful girls in the community.
Dingoro, fushin terma mende.
Mishana na fugoro koskonsma.
Kasakama fuban kafane ngura mengura.
Mentafo on confin kade. Mensan fiye kl ndombo ora. Baki eche muna besafo achumo afote. Sana ayer dafo. Kakangurlo. Jaman na kanfo. Men kanfo. Koswe kadega na fora.
Anuga dingoro. Me worko sono fukana.
And so, they set off on this beautiful day to offer Bimonka to the enemy leader as a peace symbol. A huge marriage ceremony was organized. was simply a decoy. Bimunka in no time became his favorite wife. Days suddenly became weeks, and weeks suddenly became months, until the opportunity to strike presented itself. On this day, Bimunka cooked her husband's favorite meal and presented it to him. A piece of the food fell. Bimunka knew her mission was complete. She had to sneak to meet Dingoro in the forest to hand over the food piece.
Makramo, Kosanandi, Anyakamo.
Yo, ya kokanana, kumulila lefena.
Dingoro went to battle and defeated the neighboring tribe. Just like his father, Deura Japa, he is a military strategist who has inked his name in the sands of time. A great Banya warrior with impeccable military strategy. Indeed, Kagbanye Bidi Bademoso, Ene Kenny Bademoso. I used several softwares to create this amazing short film. It included Kling, Runway ML, Minimax, Dell-E, Google's Image FX, ChatGPT, Upscaler, Topaz, 11 Labs, and almighty Adobe Premiere Pro. These are the key softwares I use to create all this. Now, I'm going to go ahead and give you a breakdown of how I went about creating the whole movie right from step 1 to the last step. And oh, if you did enjoy what I created, please make sure to smash the like button because it goes a long way in helping other people discover this channel right here on YouTube. With that out of the way, let's get to step 1, which is about writing your story. Stories are everywhere, and I would suggest that you stick to indigenous knowledge when writing stories for your AI films, because I know others might want to say you use ChatGPT or all those other AI softwares to write your story, but I would insist that if you want quality work, still rely on your knowledge or write your own story and then use AI to perfect your story, because I tend to find AI stories being very generic. After writing your story, which is in essay format, you need to now break it down into scenes. Now you can use ChatGPT to help you break the whole story into scenes, where you can have scene 1, this is what happens in the story, scene 2, this is what happens, scene 3, this is what happens. Now, after having your scenes, you need to now go ahead and break down your characters. Who are the characters in this story? And once again, you use ChatGPT to identify who the characters are. Now, after identifying the characters, you need to now describe who those characters are. In the description, you must include the ethnicity of the person, the body type, the hair color, the eye color, and even the color of the costumes they are wearing. The more detailed you can be, the better, because it is also going to help you to achieve consistent characters throughout your generation process. Now, after describing these characters, we need to now describe exactly where they are, which is the location. Now, the second major stage to all these things is to go ahead and generate the images. And in this stage, we are going to use softwares like DALL-E and Google's Image FX. And as at the time of making this video, Google's Image FX is free for everyone to use. And you must note that sometimes after some few months or years, most of these AI tools, which are usually free, end up becoming paid softwares. But as at the time of making this video, it is absolutely free. And that is what I use to generate all these realistic looking images. I find out that if you want realistic looking images, Google FX is the best when it comes to these realistic looking images. I mean, when I say the best in terms of the free software world. Now, DALL-E is paid and it can also be accessed in the paid version of ChatGPT. Because most of you on this channel are beginners, I'll stick to more of the free option so that most of us will be able to experiment with all these softwares. Now, we are going to simply copy each of our character descriptions with all the informations which contain the location and everything into the image generation software, and then just add our short description to it, and then we can go ahead and generate those images. Now, the other tip I'll give you is that make sure your image generations are going to be arranged based on characters and location chronologically. Now, what do I mean by this? Do not generate character A doing something and all of a sudden jump to go and generate something differently, and after that come back again and generate that person. So what I intend to do is that mostly I gather the person appearing in all other scenes and then generate all the images that has to do with that. What happens is that it helps you to be able to stay consistent with the character, especially when you are dealing with DALL-E, generating something and going to something different and coming back again, you are going to kind of lose the consistency a little bit. So if you are generating one type of character doing some other things, just stick with the same person, generating the same person over and over again, appearing in all other locations. And I find out that this is very effective. In the normal movie shooting world, that is just like shooting out of sync, going to one particular location and making sure that every scene that takes place in that particular location, you end up shooting it before going somewhere else to start all over again. So the best way is to approach this image generation using a similar thing by generating everything that has to do with a particular character or a particular place throughout your whole story before moving on to other scenes. I know that when you are done, the images will be scattered all over the place since it's totally out of sync. You have to take your time to reorganize those files before you move on to the next stage, which is upscaling. Now, this next stage is very important because you may have generated the images and the images are very small. However, you can use a free software like Upscaler to upscale these images like 3 or 4 times of the original size. The bigger it is, the better, because we want to have the image looking very huge so that every single pixel will be very pronounced. This is going to make sense because in our next stage, we are going to start the video generation, and the video software has to be able to see a lot of the pixels in order to be able to animate it very well. But even before we upscale this, we need to first of all use manual tools like Photoshop to recorrect a lot of the images, because even though you are going to end up with consistent images, sometimes a lot of the things are not going to be perfect. Hence, you need to use Photoshop to manually cut off people's heads and then put them in other people's bodies. And sometimes it may even require changing the costume color a little, or cutting some particular parts of the location, or manually deleting certain people out of the shot. Because what happens is that it is not every time that these softwares are going to follow your prompt very well. So sometimes the image you generate might not be exactly to your taste. So you may have to use your own means in finessing it to look exactly how you want it to. And here is the honest truth about these AI tools. none of them is simply perfect at every type of generation. Hence, do not be afraid to experiment, because you may generate a certain type of image in one of these softwares which is very good at that, and then you are generating some action shot and one of it doesn't allow you to even do that because of guidelines, and then you have to go use another one to achieve the same shot. So do not be afraid to experiment. In my case, I used Del E in cases where I didn't have the best results from Google's image FX, and then sometimes too, if I use Del E and I don't get the best results, I also go and use Google Image FX. And I tend to find out that each of them have their own strengths, but the more you use them, the more you would know where to generate what type of image and which ones are good at generating other kinds of images. In this example, the girl's hair from the previous shot did not match the next shot that I generated. However, I like the horse and every other thing. So what I did was that I went back to the previous shot, brought her in, cropped her out, brought her in here, deleted the body and deleted the face and everything, leaving just the hair, and placing the hair on this particular shot to make sure that the hair from this shot and the previous shot would be consistent. And these are the manual tweaks that you may have to do, since the AI softwares every time would not give you consistency 100% throughout the whole time. So you can go ahead and do the manual corrections yourself before you proceed to now upscale the images. And now, after using our free software Upscaler, which are all linked in the description below, you can download it for Windows. We now proceed to generate our videos from the images. Now, I used Kling to generate all the videos in this particular movie. However, like we already established, even these video softwares too, no one of them is perfect. Each of them have their own strengths and weaknesses. So I ended up mixing shots from Minimax and also shots from Kling, because there were some shots I wanted to achieve in Kling that did not work and I achieved them in Minimax, and there were shots that I could not get to work in Minimax that I achieved in Kling. And for those of you interested, each of these sites have very nice token system where they offer free tokens to users to be able to use these softwares. As for Minimax, they give you free access to generate some level of videos every single day. Every single day they give you free credits to be able to use the software, whereas Kling would give you free packages on monthly basis. Other than that, if you have the money, you can go ahead and pay for the full versions. And what will happen is that since you are using all these softwares for free, they are going to leave watermarks below under the videos. Like for example, here you see the Minimax, and then if you are using Kling, you see Kling, and then they will add the model, whether it's 1.5 or whatever model that you use to generate the video. For me, it is not a problem because I use the cinematic scope, or I use the black bars to cover the upper part and the bottom parts of the images. So it is not really that much of an issue for me personally. Now, in generating these videos in Kling, this is where if you are a DOP or your knowledge around camera movements and shots should come to light, because you need to be able to describe the action and also end it up by telling the software what the camera should be doing. Is it a handheld camera? Is it a static camera? Should the camera be orbiting? Should it be a jib shot moving from top to down? This is where your knowledge of traditional filmmaking will still make the difference between a good AI movie and then someone who is just trying to do something randomly. And the funny part is that for some of these images, even without a prompt, you can easily put it in there and then just let the software imagine itself what the video should be, even without you typing anything in there. You can go to Kling and experiment with this if you want to try that site for free. Now, after generating our videos successfully, the next thing we need to do is to upscale the videos before we start to edit them. Now, remember, we upscaled the photos before we brought them in to make videos. Now, after making the videos, we need to upscale the videos too. So this is important because most of these sites generate the videos in either 720 for free, or most of them will give you 1080, but the 1080 will be sometimes very slow, and that makes creating AI videos very boring. So I tend to create them in 720, which in most cases will be very fast and doesn't eat up so much credit. And then after that, I take them to a software called Topaz to upscale them. Now, unfortunately, Topaz is a paid software, but I know there are some good free resources out there. In this particular regard, I'm not too sure which one I would tag as the best free one, but in the future, if I find the best free upscaler out there, I'll share it with you guys on this channel. If not, you can skip the upscaling part for now and move straight to using using Adobe Premiere Pro or any editing software of your choice to now start editing the whole thing together. So I use Premiere Pro to edit this whole movie. It is almost like traditional filmmaking. Your ideas of shot composition and how to edit, even using the L&J cards and everything, comes to the fore once you get to this stage. And the last major stage after all these things, after locking down your picture edits, is to do sound design. Now, sound design is very important in this regard because in AI movies, remember, we generated all the videos using images, so there's absolutely no sound at all. Hence, every sound has to be reimagined, every sound has to be created from scratch. And so in this case, I like to approach it by trying to see sound, even though we hear sound. Now, what do I mean by seeing sound? I look at this image and think to myself, what is going on? Okay, I can see fire burning, so I look for sound effects of fire, put it in the background so that we can hear fire burning. And I use 11 Labs to create most of these sound effects. And 11 Labs also offer free packages that you can use to generate a lot of these sounds. And I've linked that also in the description below. And in this case, apart from the fire, I see all the birds that I generated, which are flying around. I add bird sounds. Once it's a chaotic scene, I imagine that people are running around and all that. So I add sounds of people screaming or wailing and running around. So when you put all together, this is how it sounds. Now, after that, I now bring in the music score itself. And where I get a lot of my music for these kind of projects is using the YouTube audio library. If you take your time and search through there very well, sometimes you will come across some very rare gems. However, I also do have some paid ones that I do get from Envato Elements and some other places that I use in these videos. But hey, for those of us beginners, I know we don't have any money to buy anything. The YouTube audio library, trust me, do have some rare gems. If you take your time and search through there very well, you can end up with some very awesome audio. And that is how I have the background music. And so when you put all together, this is how it also sounds. So after all this, I go ahead and do any sort of color grading, but in my case, hardly did I do any sort of color grading again because I generated the images with the look or exactly how I wanted it to look like on the final piece. Then after this, I went ahead to now render my video, and of course that is the final results you saw in the beginning of the video. But however, I'm going to post the full movie again as a separate video on this channel. So if you want to come back to it as a form of inspiration or just see what we can create with AI tools these days, click here to watch that video, and I will certainly catch you in the next one. Until next time, as always guys, keep practicing filmmaking. Peace out. Little did the enemy know that Bimunka was simply a decoy. Bimunka in no time became his favorite wife. Days suddenly became weeks, and weeks suddenly became months, until the opportunity to strike presented itself. On this day, Bimunka cooked her husband's favorite meal and presented it to him. A piece of the food fell. Bimunka knew her mission was complete. She had to sneak to meet Dingoro in the forest to hand over the food piece.
Makramo. Kosanandi.